we have here now joining us the great
Hi.
and wonderful embodiment of the divine feminine, and our friend Eva Longoria. We've had a long association. Eva, you have done so much for the world, and particularly for the empowerment of women. And I was just saying before you joined us that in our society, people confuse their selfie with their self. that the selfie is their image and their projection and whatever, but the self is sacrificed for the selfie. And unfortunately, the dominance of male societies through the ages, going back to hunter-gatherer times, have thought of power and conquest and predation and violence and subjugation, which has led to all the problems of the world. Racism, bigotry, hatred, prejudice, all of that has come. Yeah. And at a certain period in our history, it was important. The male had to go out and hunt and bring food and kill. But now we need the divine feminine. So thank you. As the embodiment of divine feminine, may I start with you sharing with us a personal bare truth story of what you found challenging as a woman, particularly as a woman in a leadership position and as an influencer.
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, hi, I miss you. Thank you for having me. Deepak and I have been friends for a very long time, and he's helped me through many a times in my life. And I think one of the greatest books I ever read was your book about pregnancy. When I was pregnant, I was looking and looking and looking for a spiritual book. Like I didn't want to know, I also wanted to know what was happening in my body, and then the baby was developing fingernails now and eat more salmon because his brain is developing this month, like pregnancy-wise. But I really wanted to know what was happening spiritually, like if his heart's developing, what should I be meditating more? Should I be doing this? Should I be, and yours was the only book out there, by the way. There aren't a lot of books about what energetically and spiritually is happening and how you can connect to that soul in your body. And it really was amazing. And I think that probably the biggest lesson that I actually still carry, not just because I was pregnant, but being careful what you digest, right? Not only what you eat, but literally social media, the news, scary movies, murder mysteries. I wasn't aware of everything that I ingested. And in the book, you talk about energetically, if you're pregnant and watching a scary movie, that feeling actually goes into the baby that he's scared, or you're scared, and he doesn't know it's a manufactured projection. He's feeling it like I'm feeling it. And so even after I had Santi, I carried that with me and really unfollowed a lot of sites that were just not feeding my soul, a lot of Instagrams and things like that. So on the flip side of that, to answer your question, is I'm very conscious about what I put out for people to consume. So being in this, I think, position where you have followers and people look to you for content, then why not feed them, great content and something that's going to feed their soul, as opposed to entertain their flightful mind, not even their conscious mind.
So your little boy, how old is your boy?
He's 2.5 now. He's talking.
And expressing the results of your conscious pregnancy.
Hopefully. I meditated every day with my cream when I rub my belly for him to be kind and compassionate and mindful. Those were my 3 mantras. I wanted to be mindful and compassionate and kind. Mindful, compassionate, and kind. And that's, so I hope he's those things.
Eva, what is challenging to you these days? I mean, you've been very involved in many areas, charity, humanitarianism, all the work you do with the Global Gift Gala, and even influencer in politics. Where are you now? What is your vision for yourself and for women in particular?
Unification. I mean, we've been through anytime there's an election year in this country, particularly the divisiveness and the picking sides and the picking of teams and the red versus blue. And I think we just forget at the end of the day, not only are we all Americans, but we're all humans. And I think that always is lost in an election year, an election cycle. And the division is deep. The damage that was done by an administration, a misogynistic, racist administration that set the example for others to follow. The damage has been done, and so we have to undo that damage and focus on humanity and compassion, and particularly with women. And I'm excited about this near future. Speaking about politics, if you look at our president-elect Biden, his cabinet is 60 to 70% female. And that is a conscious choice because he knows, he's said it time and time again, if women ran the world, it'd be a better place. Hence the fact he picked a female running mate. He knows what she's capable of. He knows what her potential is for this country. He knows what an example she is. And so that matters. And then the last thing I think that was so harmful is that words matter. Words matter. And I think, to come back to decency and instead of applauding political incorrectness, let's go back to decency, and let's go back to making sure what you say as a leader in this world lands with people in a way that they absorb it and can understand it. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. It's like a return to decency.
So, Eva, this conversation we're having was organized by Abby and our mutual friend Renata Black, who's working with Gabriella, right?
I love Renata.
Yeah, and so Gabriella and Renata are working together for empowering women. Yeah. And we have a new program called Love in Action. Mm-hmm. And this program came about because we discovered that every 40 seconds somebody is committing suicide in the world. Mm-hmm. Suicide is the second most common cause of death in teenagers. Last year, more people died in Japan from suicide than from COVID-19. So this is a reflection of our humanity right now. And because Renata asked to partner with us at Never Alone, as a result of that, we're having this conversation as well. Yeah. And we have also created a little chatbot there. Her name is PV, and she's an AI. And people are more comfortable talking to a machine than to a person. That shows how lost we are right now. In any case, we have now intervened in probably 500 or more suicide attempts and prevented them. We're even in the process of launching a cryptocurrency. And we are partnering with EBI and the whole movement of empowerment of women. Mm-hmm. And your participation in this has been so graceful and so helpful. I just want to thank you. And I want to ask you what more we can do to destigmatize mental illness, because it's the cause of all. 95% of physical illness is actually correlated to either anxiety or depression or inflammation. They all go together. Only 5% of disease-related gene mutations are fully penetrant. So how do you think we can help destigmatize mental illness, and particularly in the fashion industry and all these people that are suffering so much because they actually want to be celebrities. They want to their idea of their self is their self-image. And, where do you think we need the breakthroughs right now?
Yeah, that's a question for you. you know the answer to
expand this conversation in the world of women.
Well, I will say this conversation, right? Like the conversation of mental health, pulling it out into the open and letting people know it's okay to talk about it. It's reach. To seek help, and you know that I guess one of the positive things about social media is there is a conversation happening, and so you can tap into support groups and communities online that can help. That people, you know, you're not the only person going through it. I promise you, there's other people who have experienced the anxiety you're experiencing, the stress that you're experiencing. I brought this book out because I actually reread it during quarantine, and the two chapters I loved the most were listening and leadership, but the like stop and listen. And I think that's what we all need to do a little more of instead of talking and posting and content. You know, it's like, let's just sit back and listen and really search out those words of wisdom from people. And the other thing is, I think, you know, you've been my mentor long before I knew you. And the you can find mentorship and camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood without knowing the person today. You can read their books. You can, you know, follow them on social media. You can put into practice, you know, Marianne Williamson, before I met her, I was a big, you know, follower of her teachings from the Book of Miracles. And so I think, you know, when you feel alone and isolated, which leads to depression, which leads to, you know, this unimaginable suicide rates, you're not alone. And I think really we've got to bring that out, that you're not alone, and resource for everyone.
So Eva, with the help of people like yourself, Renata Black, Gabriella, Punacha Machaya, all these people coming together, our program now has one mantra: love in action, because love without action is irrelevant, and action without love is meaningless. When you bring the two together with no personal agenda, you can achieve extraordinary things. And so we're looking to a long-term relationship with you and with all the work you do as a leader in the field of women empowerment. I just have to say, I want to express my gratitude to you for all these years of friendship and support, and also continued participation to bring joy and happiness to the world. And so Love in Action has 4 A's as its primary goals: attention, deep listening to the suffering of the world; affection, deep caring and love and kindness and joy and equanimity and happiness and empowerment through happiness; affection; appreciation, gratitude; and finally acceptance, not trying to change anyone. It's hard enough for us to change ourselves. So with these 4 A's and Love in Action, we are going full steam, and in partnership with Renata and Abby and your support and your amazing Global Gift Gala, which has done so much extraordinary work over the years. I'm looking forward to many, many more conversations and partnerships, and actually making a difference. And this is what we need to do right now, this time, come from service.
And I think, you know, Love in Action is such a big lift, and we have to educate people that love is as powerful as hate. And I think because hate is such an active verb, people don't realize love is the same. Love is the same verb. You have to love as actively as you hate. And I think, you know, everything, attention and attention to what's happening in the world. And again, this pandemic has just proved that we live in a global community. We saw how fast this tiny invisible virus spread through borders, spread through communities, spread through countries. And that has to make you see, like, wow, we are all very connected, and we live in a global community. You don't live in the United States. You don't live in Texas. You live in this world that is inhabited by so many people. And so to pay attention to what is happening in the world and outside of your immediate circle, and then have compassion and empathy towards that. You know, I think that's what we really need, is people to go, wow, I never put myself in somebody else's shoes. I love what Renata's done with Evie, because empowering women, sometimes people, you know, that word is such a buzzword. It's like empowerment, women's empowerment, but like, what does that really mean? It means giving women the tools to reach their full potential. And whether that's microloans, or whether that's business training, or whether that's education or job training or skills training. Like, if you help a woman, she helps her family. She lifts her family up immediately. And you've said it a million times. You say it much eloquently than I do about women. If you help a woman, the domino effect it has on communities, and then of course countries.
All I can say is, looking at all these comments coming from all over the world, I think we're doing the right thing, and we're on the right path. I just want to thank you once again.
Thank you.
We will share tools with the world, and with your help, reach that critical mass, I hope, for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And the empowerment of women will lead the way. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Deepak.
Being here, and I love you.
I love you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
If you want another amazing video highlighting excellence in the Indian community, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.